Senator Hurd.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you very much. And I don't recall you haven't given me a nickname yet, but thank you for that. And
I've got a couple in mind, but
and yes, truly you're a legend. And before I served the Senate here, I have heard of some of your heroic act and also notorious action. And I said maybe I should stay away from Senator Metzen. So, but I learned a lot from you. And when I go back to the district, sometimes you have conversation with your constituents, and your name came up. And I know you make a reference to me that you always, even though you haven't given me a nickname, you said, good American, you're a good American, similar to Senator Chuck Wiggers just said. And I said, Senator Metzen called me good American, and some people take that differently. When you refer to someone who looked different from you racially, ethnically, then people might take that. But I take that into pride. I'm very glad I have a chance to serve with you. And, I will be a good American in the Senate here. I know that term is used all over. No one trademarked that word. But here, to me, that you trademarked that word for me as a good American. And we all will be good American for you. Thank you.
Senator Bach. Oh, Senator Jed Olson. Senator Olson.
Mr. President, thank you very much for recognizing a has-been. I appreciate being here today, and Senator Han leaking the information that there was something going on that I perhaps would want to be here for. And I thoroughly have enjoyed seeing you all in action and delivering those wonderful tributes and messages to you, Senator Metzen, all of which are very deserved. I hadn't planned to say anything, but it's hard to keep my mouth shut, and I don't know if I dare ask if you ever gave me a nickname, but but I know that you have been a risk taker, because and that I don't think has been mentioned, because you very frequently would invite me to come up and take the gavel and chair the service as president over those years, and you trusted me apparently to do a fair job, and I thank you. That was a privilege, and I welcome that. There's one little story hitchhiking on the hockey business. I've never been much of a sports fan, and near the end of session a few years back, some students from one of my elementary schools came, and at the end of the tour, it was right near the end of session, they said, we've been studying the state symbols, and we see there's no state sport, and we think it should be hockey. And it was a little boy and girl that in 5th grade that had been active in their youth hockey programs. Well, sponsoring legislation for state symbols isn't exactly something. I'd survived 28 years without doing that, or 26, I think, at that point. But I said, well, it's near the end of session, and I said I could introduce a bill, and then you can work on it because the next year it would be alive then too. And so I did. It was, one-line bill making the hockey the state sport. And I didn't know much about it or anybody's connection to it, but I thought, I should get, before I toss it in this last day of session, I should be able to get some co-authors. And I thought, let's see, now where is the Hockey Hall of Fame? Well, I think that's in Senator Tomassoni's district. So I went over there to Senator Tomassoni's desk, and I said, would you be willing to co-author this bill with me? And he took one look at it, and he scribbled his name on it. I had no idea his hockey history until I heard on Almanac that he was an Almanac question of who had played in the Olympics for Italy. And I was so embarrassed that I didn't know he was hockey from the ground up. And his first thing was he said, go on up there and get Metzen. I know he's been recognized for being a goalie, so he was the next author on it. And anyway, Senator Uyghur joined it, and I think it was Bill Ingebretson that also joined on that. And we had an interesting time, and I learned a lot about hockey that year. I had never been to even to a Wild game, much less I'd been to a couple of youth hockey games. But interestingly enough, I thought this shouldn't have too much trouble, especially if we can get it to the governor, because he signed his name like a hockey stick with a puck, if you ever saw his signature. And yet, lo and behold, it got into a bill that got to him and he vetoed it. And so we ended up not having that pass. But the next year it came back, and interestingly enough, that year it got signed into law, but a bill was never introduced, and my fingerprints aren't on it at all. But there was some interesting tale of how the process can work and how things can get done. And I just wanted to pass on that little story. But Jim, it's been an honor and a privilege for me to serve with you. And all these years, I think you're on 42, if I'm not mistaken, between the House and Senate. That's a long time. And I think I commend you. It's been a tribute to all of us and to the state to have you serve in this capacity. So bless you.
Thank you very much. Senator Latz.
Mr. President, I'm not going to add a whole lot to what's already been said, except that for me, and with all due respect to Senator Pappas, your voice will always be the one that represents, in my mind, as I think back on my years in the Senate, the President of the Senate presiding over this great body. It's truly been an honor, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Senator Jetson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't think anyone knows at the time when something so important happens until you get a chance to reflect and look back. And I know for me, being appointed as the vice chair in the Commerce Committee under Senator Metzen has been one of the greatest privileges that I have had. And I have learned so much from you. But you will always be that voice in my head, too, as you went up and presided as president and said, okay, hurry it up, okay, hurry it up, okay, hurry it up. Keep going, keep going. I will always think about that because you're right behind me, and I could hear you saying that during most of the sessions.
Or fasten your seatbelts.
Fasten your seatbelts. So thank you, Mr. President, for your mentorship and for your confidence in me and for passing on to me, because as long as I'm here, I will continue to try to be as open and listen to as many people and try to move as many things forward in whatever fashion that can take. Thank you.
Senator Bach.
Well, Mr. President, I was sitting here thinking when you got elected and how long ago that was for me. I was just entering the University of Minnesota. Hadn't even met my wife yet. Today my kids are 36 and 37 years old. So Jim, congratulations on a very, very distinguished career. And as it relates to nicknames, you never gave me one. But in 2000,
I have to.
Maybe you didn't dare. In 2002, I remember I'm running for the Senate, and I hadn't worked with Jim much. I was over in the House, and I remember getting a check from you for my campaign. So I went and asked my retiring senator, tell me about Jim Metzen. And Jim, he gave you a nickname. But unfortunately, I can't share it with everybody. But, Jim, congratulations on your service as the President of the Senate, and even more as the Chair of the Commerce Committee. The Commerce Committee members doesn't get the credit or maybe the stature around this place of the spending divisions, the people that get to spend money and then get nice notes from people because you funded things for them. But the work of the Commerce Committee is really, really important. And I can tell you there are a lot of people outside that door who've come to me and said, who's the next chair of the Commerce Committee going to be? Because people on the outside of here realize how important the work of the Commerce Committee is. And Jim, you just did a remarkable job, I think, teaching all of us that some bills, upon introduction, aren't quite ready for prime time. And I've seen you over and over the years tell the warring parties, you might say, and oftentimes we get put in the middle of those disputes. Someone comes here with an idea and they think I can get it through the legislature, and Jim, over and over again, I saw you direct people to their corners and go and try to figure out a compromise where everybody will be okay. That's a remarkable attribute that you have, something I think we all could learn from. So, Jim, congratulations. I wasn't planning on attending the governor's fishing opener this year. It's kind of a tough time of the year to be gone, but then I heard that there just may be a tent at the Metzen cabin. And so I'm hoping I'm on the invitation list, and I'm going to plan to take it in, not because I expect to catch a bunch of fish in Big Sandy, unlike Vermilion last year. But Jim, I am so looking forward to coming up on the opener and spending an afternoon or an evening at your cabin. Thank you again for all of your service, not only to your district, but to the state of Minnesota.
Okay. Go right to that. That's good, that's good. Let's go right to that. The Senate will come to order. Senator Bach.